So this will be our key to our quiz. I'm going to go through and work through the problem so you can see where you made your mistakes. So on number 1, it asks, is the sequence arithmetic? So remember, arithmetic has to have a common difference. So we're going to take term 2 minus term 1, you get 7. Term 3 minus term 2 to get 7. Term 4 minus term 3, you get 7. So you can find out our common difference is 7. So the answer is yes. That cancels out that one, and it's positive 7. So the answer has to be C. Okay. Number 2 is similar. Is the sequence geometric, and you need to find a common ratio. So same process as before, but now we're going to use division. So second term divided by first term gives us 2. Third term divided by second term gives us 2 again. Fourth term divided by third term gives us 2 again. So again, they all match. So the answer is yes. We can cross that one out, and it is positive 2. So the answer for number 2 should be A. All right, number 3, describe the pattern in the sequence. Find the next 3 terms. So you got to look at this. Again, most of us can see right here that they're just adding 2 every time. Okay, so that tells us that it's arithmetic. So we cross out B. We're not multiplying. We're adding 2. Cross that one out. So it has to be one of these 2 answers. Okay, the next 3 terms then. So we're going to add 2 here. You're going to get 21, 23, and 25. So the answer for number 3 should be C. And same thing with number 4. Again, you kind of look at this. You add 4, but then here we add 8. So that's different. So it's not arithmetic. So it has to be geometric. So you can go through and divide 8 divided by 4. We find out that's 2. 16 divided by 8, 2. 32 divided by 16, 2. And you can do this step in your calculator. You don't have to work it out by hand. So that's gone because it's multiplying. It's positive 2, so it has to be, again, A or C. So when we multiply by 2, we're going to get 64, 128. And you can see just from those first 2 terms, the answer has to be C. Okay, on number 5, write a recursive formula for the sequence 8, 10, 12. So the main thing here, we had a lot of issues with the recursive formula, okay, just from looking at the scores on the test. So again, break it down a little easier. A1, my first term has to be 8 because that's what it says right there. So it crosses this one out because that says A1 is 18. A1 is 2, it's not that one. So it has to be one of those 2 answers. The next term, we know the next term is 18. That doesn't help us. You can see from here, recursive formula, we're taking the previous term and adding 2 because we went up 2. So that's why it has to be D. All this means is the term before it. So if I want to find, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if I want to find A6, all that tells me is I do A, 6 minus 1 plus 2. Well, 6 minus 1 is 5, so A to the 5th plus 2. All right, this is what it means to be the recursive formula. So you take the 5th term, which is 16, add 2 to it, and you get 18. So that's why D is the correct answer for that one. And number 6, consider the first 6 terms of the sequence. Which equation below recursively defines the sequence? So this is the same thing. You're trying to figure out how to get to the next term. So if you look here, you can go through the same formula we did before, but you can see every time you're multiplying by 2. So I know my common ratio is R equals 2. Okay. So crossing this one out, that's adding, that's arithmetic. 6 times n, that's not going to work either. I know it's R2, so one of these has to be a 2. Remember, from before on number 5, we said a n minus 1 is the term before. So it's probably going to be this one, the term before times 2. But let's go through and check this just to make sure. So if I want to find out, say my 1, 2, 3. If I want to find out my 4th term. So if I want to find out A4, I'm going to do 2 times A3. Well, we know A3 is 24. So does that work? A4 equals 2 times 24 equals 48. And that's what we got. Okay. You can do it for the 5th term as well. If I want to find out A5, I'm going to take A5, I'm going to take 2 times A4. Okay. Well, I can 2 times A4 is 48 again, so times 48, you find out A5 is 96. So you can see it works throughout. So that's kind of the one way on here you can check this. These two probably give us the most problems on the test, on the quiz. So go through and make sure you kind of understand what that recursive formula means. This just means the previous term. So number 7, write the explicit formula for the sequence. So remember, our formula is, so it's R, so it's geometric. So you have AN equals A1 times R n minus 1. All right, so if we're going to rewrite this, A1, they tell us is 3. So I got 3 times R is -3, and then n minus 1. They want to know the 5th term, so we take 5 and plug it in here. So I'll go through this step, even though most of us kind of skip over it. 5 minus 1, that's going to equal 3 times -3 to the 4th. And here it helps if you have your calculator. You can do this in your phone, but it's kind of messy. All right, so 3 times parentheses -3 parentheses to the 4th power. So we find out our 5th term has to be 243. Make sure when you do this in the calculator that you put parentheses in there. Otherwise, that'll make a mistake. If you, and it might come out. So let's see, 3 times -3 to the 4th. So yeah, it will come out to negative if you don't use your parentheses. Make sure you use your parentheses. All right, so what's that tell us as far as answer? So I know it's 243, so that's gone, that's gone. It can't be those. It has to be A or C. And if we look at our formula right here, let's see, the answer should be C. There's issues with the sign. I've seen some people put B on there. Some people just guessed and knew that it's 243 and guessed A instead of C. So make sure you go through there and see kind of where your mistakes were. All right, what is the explicit rule for the sequence? All right, so looking through here, add 11, add 20. So you see it's not arithmetic, so it has to be geometric. We're multiplying by 2 every time. So remember your formula, AN equals A1 times R n minus 1, just like above. All right, so if you got one of these wrong, you probably got the other one wrong. A1 is 11, so I know 11 goes here, and again, right there, that tells you the answer is B. Because A1 has to come first, that's 11, and then common ratio is 2n minus 1. So the correct answer for 8 is B. Number 9, consider the first 6 terms of this sequence. So they want to know the 19th term. That's where we substitute in n equals 19 towards the end. That was like we did on the quiz or on the notes in the homework. Okay, so we have to find the 19th term of the sequence on number 9. First thing we had to do is figure out the formula for the sequence. So looking through here, you can see it's, I mean, hopefully you look at this, you can see this doubling. If not, you can go through and check, but we find out that R equals 2. We know A1 equals 3. So I'm going to set up my formula. This is exactly like 7 and 8's formula. Okay, so A1 times R n minus 1. So I want to know the 19th term. So A1 is 3 times R. A19 equals A1, that's 3 times R, which we know is 2, and then n minus 1, so 19 minus 1. So A19 equals 3 times 2 to the 18th power. And again, use your calculator. Use what your tools that you have. 3 parentheses 2 to the 18th power. 786,432. So that answer is C. Number 10, the explicit formula for the sequence. Okay, looking at this, I use my calculator to figure out what kind of sequence this is. Second term minus first term, third term minus second term, fourth term minus third term. Okay, so just going through, you can see the pattern here. I find out that my common difference is -5. Okay. I also know that A1 is 7. So I can write my formula. AN equals A1, 7 minus 5, N minus 1. All right, so we're going to have the formula out. So we have to distribute the -5. It's going to give us 7 minus 5, and -5 and -1 gives us +5. Combine like terms gives me 12, -5n plus 12. And that's my formula. So cancels those out. So it has to be one of these two. It comes down to what is the 14th term. So I have to plug 14 in here. -5 times 14 plus 12. Again, just to make sure I don't make any mistakes. -5 parentheses 14 plus 12. Find out that it's -58, which gives us B. Okay. So going back through these, so these are the correct answer choices. You can go back through the video and figure out which problem you made a mistake on, and then you can go through and see if you understand it. If there's any misunderstandings, jump back on Zoom on Wednesday, and we can go over whichever problems you have a question on. I just wanted to wait until everyone turned their test in. Some people were a little late with it this weekend. So again, I hope you did well. If not, make sure you're working on your stats unit. We have notes today, homework tomorrow, notes on Wednesday, homework on Thursday, and at the end of next week will be the next quiz. So make sure that you are prepared. If you have any questions, again, I'm on Zoom Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8:30 to 11:30. All right, see ya.